My earliest memories of Yellowstone start with West Thumb, and I remember both the cabins that we lived in there. In both cabins, we all slept in one bedroom in a series of cots that were kind of all end to end or in close configuration so that you could barely get in and out of there. We all slept, or at least the kids slept, in sleeping bags that had these flannel liners.
Filters.
Filters. Is that
Yes.
what we call them? Filters.
Filters.
They were supposed to be tied into the sleeping bags, but they always ended up at the bottom of the bag. And I don't know how much good they did at keeping the sleeping bags clean, because we were pretty dirty.
Yeah, I remember we were all packed into one room, and Dennis always had a cot in what was the dining living area, and his cot became the couch by daytime. And
Oh, I didn't remember that.
yeah, and then yeah, so he kind of had a separate area where he slept.
And we had the slop pot.
Yeah,
Remember?
behind the stove.
Right.
And Daddy had to empty it.
Yeah, and then the wood stove, I remember Daddy was always seemed to be cutting kindling, forever chopping wood and cutting kindling. And we had no running hot water, so Mom had to heat everything on the stove. And I remember a few mornings, not often, but when it was really cold, we'd get to sit up on the ledge above the stove. You remember that?
I remember warming our socks up there before we put them on, or drying clothes up there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always had dish duty. It seemed to me there were endless dishes to wash and dry.
And we'd always try and forget the pots accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, I think I was a dish dryer back in those days, and you were the dishwasher or something. I don't know. I know in my later years I refused to dry dishes. I will only wash. But I don't know.
Maybe that means I wasn't the washer back then.
I don't know. And I remember that I can't remember much what we ate as everyday fare. I know that baking was a big production. It was kind of a rare and special event when Mom could bake a pie or something, because it wasn't easy
Keep a
to
constant
bake
temperature.
in that oven. Yeah, that was kind of a challenge. And of course the outhouses figure prominently in all the memories, because, well, you got chased by a moose into one, didn't you?
Yeah, I was trying to come out of one or something, and a big moose went right by the door, and I kind of hid in it, stayed in there.
And then I remember, of course, very, very vividly, we were at one of the two-seaters out behind our second cabin, and I thought I was going to be real smart, and I got through before you, and I went out and locked you in. Went around the door, and I was nose to nose with a bear.
Well, and I wouldn't let you back in.
You wouldn't let me back in. And I pounded on the door, and finally you let me in, and we locked the door and hid in there for a while. And we came out, and there was no bear anywhere to be seen, and I kind of wondered whether that was a figment of my imagination or whether I'd really seen a bear.
Yeah, we were always locking each other in and throwing things
down the hole.
Like Clint and Davy.
No, Davy threw Clint's rock collection down the hole, and then Clint threw Davy's flashlight, or vice versa.
Like that,
yeah, those were big things.
Yeah.
Yeah. The games that I remember are playing. Well, I remember very vividly with the first cabin, they had that big light out on the tree, and we played kick the can in the dark at night.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
We get all spooked and
Yeah. And then and we'd build those big grass nets down by the Suction Rogie stream, and played like we were buffalo or birds or various things. The grass must have been
deer
3 feet
or something.
tall.
Yeah, we'd make big nests and hide in them.
Yeah. And then once Larry Robinson came, and he was into the poles and the pole vaulting. Remember, we cut those poles and we'd vault through the forest from one down tree to another. And we made all those, out in front of the second cabin, all those dirt villages, little cars and trucks and horses and things, and we'd have those villages and play in the dirt there for hours.
And I remember, do you remember playing road construction?
Oh, I remember
when we closed
the road
off.
Yeah, I think, that was our revenge for all those hours we'd sit waiting in the car driving to and from Yellowstone because of road construction out there in the wilds of Wyoming.
Yeah, we'd stop everyone, and they'd detour.
And we'd rake pine needles onto the road, and then we'd shovel them off or something. Yeah. And then we, of course, we played forever in the tent top cabins. We set up the circus sideshow. One year I was tightrope walker, and I had this little skirt Mommy made for me out of grocery bags, and I hung onto the wire or the beam at the top
Oh,
and
yeah.
walked across.
And I was a snake charmer.
Yeah, and
Remember,
then
I had the
another-
red long, my snake.
Another
Yeah.
time I was a fat lady, and I had the pillow and Dad's T-shirt and Mom's blue jeans and a
Uh-huh.
baseball cap on backwards. And wasn't Davy the Wild Man or something like that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also played on the boat racks.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Queen of the Mountain or something. I can't remember. We'd
Well-
fight over the racks. Who got the best?
Yeah, and we'd
boat
we'd
trailer.
come into port and...
Oh, was that it? I
or
can't remember.
Yeah, anyway.
It was up by those boat racks that I found my first arrowhead, the black obsidian one. With the end was kind of broken off, but it was a really beautiful piece of smoky obsidian. I found just kind of digging in the dirt up there. We also, remember Flint and Davy one time, I think we're down there without their mother or something. We'd make all those made-up foods. You know, we'd throw all the ketchup and all these things, and we'd bake cakes. Don't you remember? Everything we could find in the kitchen, we'd throw and stir together and then bake it in the oven.
I remember Bomish. Remember Bomish?
No, what was
we'd get
Bomish?
soap bottles, or empty soap bottles, and put a little soap on them and different food colorings, and swirl the things around and make all these vile-looking combination of things. I think we called it Bomish. Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah.
what we cooked. I don't know. I'm not sure I remember that. I remember playing down at the lake, and I remember all the leeches that we used
Oh,
to
yeah,
find under
yeah.
the rocks, and
Yeah, and they'd-
stick them on each other
And
or
they'd
whatever.
come out and they'd be on your legs.
Yeah, oh, they were pretty
In fact,
icky.
I took two to make pets out of them, but I never wanted to stick my hand in there or change the waters. I think they finally
They
either
died.
expired or I got them back to the lake. I'm not sure which.
Huh.
Oh, and on the lake also, remember we made little boats. You know, we get a little piece of lumber and put a point on the front of it, and then put 3 nails in and put tape around for the windshield. And
Yeah,
we
I
had all
kinda
our little
remember
boats
those. I
out
do
there
remember those,
on
yeah.
the lake.
When we moved to Canyon, our games got a little more sophisticated. We built that wonderful fort that had no nails in it. All the
Mhm.
upright posts were lashed and had the catwalk and the underground
Mhm.
entranceway. The girls would take the fort away from the boys, and then the boys would take the fort away from
Yeah,
the
we had
girls. and-
some real battles.
right,
there.
and then we put on the plays. And did we do anything besides Rapunzel? I remember you were Rapunzel with your long hair, and I was the prince. But we did one in which you were the witch. What was that one?
Oh gosh, what? Oh boy, what? Some famous fairy tale? or-
Yeah, you were a witch in one, though, I remember.
Oh, not. All I can think of is Wizard of Oz, but that doesn't sound right.
I can't remember.
Now, do you remember when we had the wildflower gardens and we found a pretty area? You know, it had wildflowers in it. We put stones around it and then hauled water to them to.
Yeah,
To water
was that
them.
at Canyon we
I think-
did that?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do kind of remember
And then
that.
we had the tadpole rescue when there were all these puddles that were drying up and all these little tadpoles were in them. And
Oh.
we'd try and scoop them up and save them and take them over to the stream.
Uh-huh. I remember at West Thumb, of course, Clint and Davy Driscoll were
Mhm.
our great pals year after
And
year.
Deanne Flockhart.
Deanne Flockhart and the Robinsons.
Larry and
uh,
well, Jeannie was much older. but-
Right. And then, was it the Horners? Remember those terrible little boys?
Oh,
The obnoxious ones, and they eat the peanut butter and M&M
yeah,
sandwiches.
yeah, I'd forgotten about
and
them.
draw Jello out of the pack.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that oh yeah, they were kind of a
They're
weird
kinda
out weird
gross,
group.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten all about them.
The Horners.
Yeah.
And of course, the fish fries were a big thing
Oh.
at West Thumb. Anyway, those were lots of fun, and we'd have great watermelon seed fights.
Yep.
I remember those as the highlight of the fish fries. And I remember Mom and Dad always went to these Christmas in July parties.
Oh, yeah.
We never got invited.
No,
to those,
remember we did go to some, and
Oh.
Santa Claus would hand out presents, and we'd come home with little doodads or some candy.
I think we came home once, didn't we find our cabin all decorated up with the tree and
Oh, that could
toilet
be.
paper all over it or something? I
Yeah.
have this vague recollection
Uh-huh.
of something like that happened on one of those trips. I remember Daddy always had his Lou days, and those were days off, and
Mhm.
we'd take trips to various parts of Yellowstone usually.
Yeah.
Someplace else we'd go and camp. And
Sometimes on the old fire roads, and we get into some back country.
yeah. What was at Yancey's fishing hole? All I can remember was the endless hike out to Yancey's in that big field and
Yeah.
finding an antler rack
Wait, wasn't
or
there an old
something.
ruin or a cabin, part of a cabin
Something
out
like
there?
that. I
Yeah.
can't remember, but it was supposed to be this great fishing hole. Wasn't that it or something?
I don't recall that there was
It was
fishing.
on the Yellowstone, wasn't it?
I just recall the big meadow and I think the ruin
The
of the old
antler
cabin. Yeah.
and carrying the antler back.
Yeah.
Days it seemed like getting
Yeah.
back from there. Of course, I remember very vividly the night we camped with the earthquake.
Mhm.
And you and Dennis and I were sleeping in the tent, and Mom and Dad and Susan, I guess, was along at that time, were sleeping in the car. And it was a night that I couldn't sleep because there was a mouse in the tent, and he kept scratching, and I thought he was going to chew a hole in the sleeping bag. And as usual, Dennis was sleeping with his mouth wide open, and the mouse ran and stepped in his mouth. That made him wake up. And then the next morning, didn't Mom and Dad say there'd been an earthquake? That
Well, they
could
felt
feel
a
it in the
little
car?
rocking in the car, but of course we hadn't really felt anything.
And then we
being
got
right on the
back
ground.
to
Yeah.
Canyon and found out that the campground we'd almost decided to go to, or on that side of the park, had been the one that had the mudslide and all the people had been killed or whatever.
Yeah.
We'd been on the opposite side of the park, just by serendipity or whatever. Trying to think, is there anything else? Oh, I remember about West Thumb was the visits of the Parkers and the Bensons.
Mhm.
And of course, I remember when Jeanette had her bacon out in the cooler. Remember, and the bear tore the top off the cooler. And Jeanette started singing, "Bring back, oh, bring back my bacon to me."
Black bear. Yeah. Oh, and remember the boys would sleep in the tent, and we tried to scare them one night. We put a skull and crossbones and flour on a blanket or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then the bear came to lick it up or kind of sniffed around the tent. Yeah.
And I remember Lou Robinson with his rifle going out to shoot the bad bears. Remember those stories? He'd go into a full campground full of people and shoot a bear at 100 yards or something and hit him right between the eyes. And then you remember he scalped, he had one and he had the head soaking or something. He was trying to tan the hide. Don't you remember? It was soaking for months or whatever.
Yeah,
It was this
something
big
like
gross
boiling
thing.
skull or something. Oh, yeah.
And I remember they rolled the big traps into, once they did or twice, into our cabin area, because there was some bad bear hanging out there. He was painted pink or
Had
had
a
an
big
orange
stripe.
stripe.
They
Yeah.
paint a big stripe on him.
And Mom out there with a broom trying to shoo him into the trap because he wouldn't go in. And of course, I remember Susan with her bottle at West Thumb. Do you remember it? Everywhere she
bottle.
went, bottle. Susie and her bottle. And everywhere she went. And I do remember the time when she started screaming at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
And Mom went running out there, and there was a bear kind of nose to nose with Susan. She didn't know what to do, I guess.
Yeah, and the bear kind of spooked and backed off, fortunately. So.
Yeah. I remember occasionally we were supposed to go help Dad with his slideshows at night. Remember when he'd run the machine and get the slides in backwards, upside down. He usually did better when he got somebody from the audience to help him out.
Well, I remember when Dennis was real little and Daddy was saying something about rocks or something, and Denny came up with, "Daddy, here's a rock." And of course it made a big hit with the audience. You remember that, Dennis? Yeah, you were pretty little then.
Yeah. Trying to think of any more West Thumb memories before we move
Oh,
on.
remember we used to play horses a lot at West Thumb.
You got the boat
Remember
racks,
we had-
right? Which
yeah,
we
we got the
call the
boat
boat
racks.
racks, although they
Yeah.
were boat trailers.
Yeah. We'd play horses, remember, in the logs there? We'd make stalls and
Yeah,
play,
no, I do. We had very fancy corrals kind of, or other things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
play
forgotten about
horses.
those. Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, yeah, we found the Indian wiki-ups.
I remember on that was on a boat trip, wasn't it? When
Yeah.
we were going around the
Around
lake.
with a
and
canoe, or rather, just a rowboat.
Yeah, rowboat. We were staying kind of close to the edge, and we stopped for lunch someplace.
Mhm.
And it was one at Pebble
Very
Beach of some
overgrown,
kind.
Yeah.
And that's where I found my second arrowhead in Yellowstone. It was kind of a little chert one, not particularly well formed, but I was just sitting there on the beach sifting through the rocks, and I picked up that arrowhead. I remember that very vividly from that trip around the lake.
Oh, and speaking, I guess we're backtracking here, but when I guess maybe the Bensons or the tribe were out, remember we'd hike up Mount Washburn and see the fire lookout up on top?
Yes.
Is that where the
Yeah.
We'd see, and that's where we saw some of the bighorn sheep and the,
Is that where the petrified tree was?
No.
or that's a
No,
different,
Petri-
yeah,
On a
that's,
Specimen Ridge.
yeah, I remember,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and we camped out there too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, hiked around there.
And let me think. Anything else from West Thumb? Oh, I remember. Do you remember all the pelicans on the lake?
Yeah.
Big pelicans
Uh-huh.
and fishing. You know, I haven't ever seen a pelican like that since. Until in the Carolinas, I've seen brown pelicans on the Atlantic coast. But are those all extinct, or are those pelicans still around? You know that kind, those with the giant
still there.
bills. They are
Yeah.
still there. And of course the osprey,
Mhm.
the canyon, and
Yeah,
the buffaloes.
sorry. Remember, and the swimming at Ferry Creek.
Yeah.
And
It was- it
ran
was
into
warm,
the fire hole.
right?
Yeah.
There was a
well,
spring,
yeah, Ferry Creek was kind of warm, and then the fire hole there, because it had geyser runoff. But I think we were kind of little. We mainly stayed in the little creek there.
Yeah.
And I remember we came across a huge buffalo, a male.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just kind of sitting there by himself.
Well, I remember when we went to Ferry Creek once, I think it was the Bensons were with us, and remember they
Mhm.
found the freshwater mussels?
Yeah, and they eat it.
Bert,
Yeah.
Somebody had one.
Bert, yeah,
Two
no, he
saltines
said-
in the
right,
salt.
yeah,
Salty
that's
crackers.
right. I thought, yeah,
Salt, and they're still
roughly-
squishing around in the mouth.
roughly equivalent to eating a live monkey brain. You know, I couldn't believe that a human being could eat a raw.
Slightly gritty and sandy, I think.
Oh, that was gross.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mussels, freshwater mussels.
Well, let's see. I remember, Dennis, when you were pretty little, and Clint and Davy kind of adopted you, and you'd have all these little refrigerator, or they'd ask you to pronounce something, and you pronounce it, and they
They
oh, it's so
got
cute, and they.
Do you remember also with Susan? She'd go between us, and we were always swinging her. Do you remember the 1, 2, 3
Oh, yeah.
whoop, and
Yep.
we'd swing her
Yeah.
all over the place?
Oh, and Clint got stuck. There was some kind of underground.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
culvert.
That was a canyon.
Oh no.
What was it? No, because it was Clint Driscoll that.
No,
got
it was.
stuck.
I think Dennis is right. It was a canyon.
Really?
It was
For
some
supper
other
time, and
boy.
he was at the other end of that was
Yeah.
Hal, one of the Hal boys.
Was it? Was it?
Gosh, I was remembering
It was
Clint getting
some
stuck
chubby
when it was
kid got
mealtime.
stuck in
Yeah.
that
The culvert
culvert.
went all the way across the end of the road to just the cul-de-sac cement on the end with a grate over it, and so it was a big,
It
And
did.
it was
It
kind of
did.
scary. I mean, it was.
fairly long and somewhat narrow, and he got over the other end, and then we all called dinner, and he was scrambling to get out. And like,
Yeah, gosh, I thought that was
Stuck.
Davy or Clint rather, but yeah. Oh, Canyon. Remember that we had that sewing club? There was that little girl that lived in the trailer, and we get together and we made little batches that had birds on them, and we had a little
Sort
sewing
of. I
club or
can't
something.
remember
Yeah.
that too well.
I remember that.
Well, if we're moving up to Canyon, of course, the big thing was that we lived in barracks that were very modern quarters. I mean, we had a bathroom, we had a bathtub, we had running hot water. It was, of course, Dennis always slept in the living room on the high bed.
Was that where I was?
you
Oh,
were always
yes.
stuck off by yourself. I
remember
guess.
the-
Yeah,
Just
we
the-
had
the kitchen and
Nancy.
the old
Nancy
cabin.
and I had a bedroom, I think, and Mom and Dad and Susan maybe Nancy and I and Susan slept in one room, and Mom and Dad had their own bedroom.
Uh-huh.
It was this long hall.
Yep.
And that first year we went up there, you and I went up with Daddy early.
Fred Minzer, yeah.
And Mom and Nancy and Susan came up on the train, and we
Yeah.
went to Cody to meet them. And that's when I found the pet rabbit and the pet mouse.
Yeah, Bumper.
Yeah, and, well, I think his name was Alexander.
Was it Alexander?
Wasn't
Yeah.
But I
Alexander-
can't
what was
remember
the mouse
I
then?
can't
I
remember
thought
the
the
mouse's
mouse was
name, but they
Alexander,
lived
but-
together in a box,
Yeah.
and the mouse would crawl underneath the rabbit, and the rabbit would come and go popping out of the box.
Well,
Yeah.
the rat was shooting down the hallway. And
Right
sliding-
at night, he
slam
would
into the-
slit his
slam into the
nails
meter.
would click around. And Dad would come in from from one of his night talks and close the door, and he wouldn't have any. He'd be afraid to step anywhere because
Yeah.
Alexander was skidding around the thing.
And Alexander leaves little puddles.
Yes.
Right.
All under our cots and all.
Or on Dennis, living out in the living room. And he would chew on your ear, right? Or suck on you. What else did he do to
Oh,
you?
he was a wild rabbit.
He did
They have a
lots of
picture
things
of
to
Alexander
Dennis,
somewhere,
right?
too, though.
Being fed with an eyedropper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With an eyedropper.
Look at him, little carrot strips.
He was
and-
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Jasmine laying out.
And the stockade out in back, the
Yeah.
fort we made.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah, and
With the
had our
O'Days.
plays
Productions
and,
and theatrical productions in that
Right.
too.
yeah.
And the O'Days,
Yeah.
remember that family with a whole pile of kids?
John
Dennis-
or Dennis, yeah,
Dennis,
Dennis
and
was
there was a girl too that was
Yeah.
about your age. Mm.
Um, oh, one of my, I guess, strongest bear memories, actually it was a story we were told. Remember about the chief ranger at Canyon going out to one of the lookouts, and one of the bears was out there that he was hoping to find, who was a bad bear, and at that point they were no longer painting him and trapping him. They were shooting him with the tranquilizer gun. And he saw he had an opportunity, and so he got out of his truck and he shot the bear with the tranquilizer gun. And he got back in the cart, his truck, to wait. And this lady drove up in this big station wagon. The windows, the electric windows went down, and the bear goes up on the windowsill. She starts cramming potato chips or something else in his mouth.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the bear goes on
Feels
backwards.
like-
And Art got out of his truck and yelled, "Lady, what have you been feeding our bears?" The windows rolled up and she tore out of there.
Let's see, there was also that real mysterious dump nearby that we used to find a tremendous number of tadpoles and pollywogs and in those shallow pools
Yeah,
around
okay,
there.
that was
You
the
guys- somebody
tadpole.
found a suitcase
We
with
found
a bullet hole in
right,
it.
the
Oh,
suitcase
yeah.
that had a
Yeah.
unnailed letter in it, and then it had the paraffin mold with the key
Yes,
in the
and
middle.
the key.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes,
paraffin
oh, that
mold
was a
key.
great mystery.
So
We
Perry
didn't-
Mason got onto that one right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever solved that one though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
did.
always got spooked out when we walked
Oh,
back
it was-
in there too. It was
Yeah.
dark, you remember, and we always try and build up our courage and.
We'd
Go
run into
back in.
bears around there a lot too, I think. I remember that. I remember at the canyon itself, the osprey, I remember seeing them
Mhm.
and the rainbows above
Mhm.
the canyon a lot.
And remember the Canyon Hotel when they were going to shut it down? We got to go in and get all those old tablets. And,
Got this, yeah,
Yeah.
like the firebomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the
Yeah.
dump there is where we found those round bottom bottles, remember?
Mhm.
Blue, beautiful blue bottles.
The green-
They're
green.
really green.
Yeah, and we found some other old purple bottles, I think, there at the dump. But that's where we particularly looked for those.
Remember sliding down the hill of the pine needles? Remember we had that hill back behind the barracks? Not far from the barracks, it was just a little hill, but there was just coated with old pine needles, dead pine needles, which were very slippery. We get big pieces, sheets of cardboard.
I've forgotten
and
about
jump
that.
on and
Yeah, that's
slide
right,
down.
we did.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
enough of the hill, almost like snow, to slide down.
Huh. I remember always worrying about forest fires. And you remember when there was a little fire in the woods
Yeah.
there? I don't know whether you or one of your pals started it. Remember
Yeah,
that?
oh, that
we
was
had to
just
put
for
out.
Nixon people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And remember, they found it. All the adults, converged to try and put it out.
Right. fast
We
in
were
that
carrying
dump and that-
water.
And
Yeah.
it made an indelible impression on Susan because she was just fire,
And but remember there was one forest fire. I remember we could see off in the horizon. We could see the smoke column from it. There was some question about whether
Brown.
Daddy was going to have to go
Mount
fight
Eden
that
wasn't-
one.
or, I mean, the Mount Washburn wasn't around. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're already on Canyon. I thought of another West
Yeah.
Thumb thing, but that was, remember we go out in the Flockhart's boat?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
go-
they
yeah.
had a
Go
fancy
fishing.
motorboat.
Yeah, those were, I
Yeah.
remember the Silver Dollar, was it called?
I
Something
think
was
you might be
called.
right about
So
that,
There was
yeah.
a Silver Dollar.
But the winter at Yellowstone was something else. Oh, one thing we forgot about. Didn't we take Christy, your
Oh,
pet?
parakeet.
Parakeet.
Oh,
Didn't-
yeah.
How many places did Christy go? I remember
he
the
went-
trip and how
Yeah,
carefully we had to cover
yeah, and he
it all.
went in the wintertime when we went up to Yellowstone. He went with us in the car with a little flannel blanket over
Right.
him, and yeah.
But did he also go to Canyon? I guess that summer afterwards he must have been there.
Yeah.
Was that the
Yeah.
first time he'd gone? We didn't have him before that?
Oh gosh, I don't. I know he was in Yellowstone that winter. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we lived in what was like a hotel, practically in
Seemed
Mammoth.
like,
I mean, it was a
yeah,
big
it was-
apartment
yeah,
building.
big
Yeah.
apartment.
What were we on the second or third floor or
Wait,
something?
Second, well,
Maybe
I
it
know.
was
I know we
first
had to
floor.
go.
There
Yeah,
was
we just
big
had to go
stairs we
down
went up
some
to.
stairs, and there was be big elk out there, and it was there were pretty big animals, and we'd be afraid to go to school, or 'cause they'd be standing right there, and
Oh,
Mommy'd
really?
go shoo
I
them
don't remember
away.
those.
Yeah, kind of shoo shoo, and then we
I
could
remember
go.
the underground parking garage, or the
Yeah.
underground garage, and that big inner tube that we'd play endless hours on, jumping up and down, and the dump
Fly
waiter
off
that
and
we'd
get
go
through.
up
The
and
dumb
down.
waiter, yes,
right,
going up and down the dumb
3
waiter, putting
floors.
people in it.
Right, no, that's what
Yeah.
we do. We go hide and go up and down
Yeah.
the dumb waiter all the time. Only we weren't supposed to, I think.
No,
We
I
got
don't
told
think
we
so.
were forbidden to do that.
And the sign shop was right across the street. I remember that, getting the pieces of wood there and making snowboats and stuff in the sign shop.
Yeah, remember when we go skiing on our big old wooden skis with
Yeah.
the army
That
boots
little-
and
that
the
little
little
ski,
tow
the rope
rope,
tow.
and we try, yeah.
Could never stand up. I mean,
And school was an indelible experience. The school that Dennis and I went to was sort of a three-room school. It
Yeah.
actually was bigger than that, but
But it had
first
all
and
the grades
second
all the
grade
same,
was in
yeah.
one class, third and fourth in another, and fifth and sixth in another. And I was in the fifth, sixth grade class, and my teacher was also the principal of the school. And it was the first time I'd ever had a male teacher. And when he always called us by our last name. It was Mr. and Miss. I was Miss Fisher. When you called on, you had to stand. You stood at the side of our desks, when we were called on. And there were about 10 fifth graders and about 10 sixth graders. And he was a very challenging teacher. I sort of didn't use textbooks. And when we learned the formula for volume, he first brought in this huge box that it held paper products like toilet paper. We had to figure out how many cubic inches there were of it or something. And then finally he'd give us the formula. Right, and we'd grow bread molds, and we had to memorize a Longfellow poem and write a 2,000-word term paper and give a 5-minute speech. I wrote my term paper on Louis Pasteur and gave my speech on mammals of North America. The Longfellow poem I memorized was the under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands, the smith a mighty man is he with large and sinewy hands. Anyway, was it Mr. Simpson? Was that his name? I know you
Yeah,
was,
Sal.
Oh,
you
yeah.
accused me of worshiping
Yeah,
him. He
yeah, I
was the
remember
god,
that.
because I really liked this teacher.
Yeah.
He was,
Well, I remember roller skating in the gymnasium. Here we
Oh,
are, with these
yeah.
metal wheeled roller skates on this wooden floor in the gymnasium. It was the only winter recreation indoors we had, and everybody skating around. And I had this tremendous crush on a girl. What's her name? She had her name written on the back of her her beaded belt. It was like Diane or Deanne or something like that. And I remember trying to chase around the gymnasium after her with that name on the back of her belt. But these metal wheeled, just roller skates on this old wooden floor.
And
There were some big skits or productions too, right? There were some plays. I'm trying to remember. Maybe there was something involved in Cub Scouts or something that was involved.
Yeah.
I was
I-
in 4-H because they didn't have Girl
Yeah.
Scouts, and I remember we made aprons that year. I think was our project or something like that we did in 4-H. And I vaguely remember the playground there. It was kind of rudimentary. In the old
Oh, yeah.
hotel, we kind of hung out around that, I think.
Well, I remember playing with the kids out in the snowbanks versus Mammoth. That part of Montana, North Corner, Wyoming, was very cold in
Yeah.
the winter.
Yeah.
And I discovered I thought these kids would all be just kind of non-phased about being out there. Then I figured out they had long underwear. We didn't have any long underwear. I had blue jeans, and I froze.
Well, I
course, you rode
remember
the bus.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, what'd you-
Riding the bus into Gardner.
Or Gardner. Libby.
Yeah. Gardner.
Gardner, okay.
And the bus, like the door would be rope shut, and because it didn't close anymore or latch, and it would go about 5 miles an hour, so kind of steaming and hissing, and barely make it into Gardner, and then it'd go up to Jardine, I guess one of the mountain towns, and bring the kids into school, and I remember the kids because they were, a lot of them kind of poor, or coming from those little mining communities. And one guy, I was in the 8th grade, and he was 16, and could barely read, and probably go work in the mines, after he got out of school. And he had a girlfriend, and he carved her name in his arm, just really carved it in there. And I was real impressed because my English book was dated about 1923, and I thought it was a real antique. And I was, oh, neat, And it was quite an interesting school experience. Different kind of people.
Of course, at the end of that winter, Daddy had his honorable demotion party.
Yes,
He got
that's
his
great.
silver plate,
Yeah,
silver
temporary
painted
promotion
buffalo
while
turd.
the
or
Yeah,
whatever.
buffalo chip.
Right
Yeah.
in the book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had, what was our last summer then in Yellowstone, a canyon that summer.
Mhm.
Of course, I don't, did we know we weren't ever going to come back then? or
Probably
I
not.
think-
And then I guess we got the cabin, or we got the land up here, and
Yeah, and that was sort of the end of, I remember we went back about 2 summers later to visit. And of course, that's the last time I've been back to Yellowstone, because I think
There
about...
was the night of the earthquake too. Of course,
62.
we were over in the opposite corner of the park, and we were sleeping on the ground. Those of us who were in the tent and didn't really even know it had happened. And the car had rocked. I remember Mom and Dad talking about the car. And then we came back to civilization and learned more and more about the kind of destruction.
Oh, and remember, was it the Witch's Cauldron that erupted after that earthquake?
Yeah,
Remember,
some
we went
quit
a new
erupting,
geologic.
other ones
Yeah, we
did,
went to watch the,
never
that black,
Yeah, I
steaming,
forgot about
stinky.
that. Yeah.
Witch's Cauldron. See, oh, and of course, watching the grizzlies come in to feed at the dump.
At the dump,
Yeah.
yeah. That was... And the coyotes. Remember the coyotes?
Yep.
All how
Yep,
right.
yep.
That was
Yeah.
in Kansas mostly, wasn't it?
Right, and well, in that meadow too. I remember taking Alexander in his box. There was a boardwalk across the meadow.
Yes,
I'd go out there
right.
to get grasses for it or whatever.
Boardwalk, right.
And there were coyotes out there, and I hit him in my shirt. I wasn't sure whether I was
gonna come
more
get it.
attractive to him or something because I had a rabbit.
And we had a tree house. Was that a canyon? Remember the
Yeah.
big tree house?
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was a
Incredible tree
canyon.
houses,
Yeah.
Very high.
That was before Larry fell out of
Yeah,
it.
eventually. Well,
Yeah.
or he fell out of another one, but did he
Yeah,
fall
no,
out of
he
that?
didn't fall out of that one. It was I think during the winter
They were
time
very
he fell,
elaborate,
broke
very
his
tall.
hip and his arm.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
killed. He fell 80 feet or something.
Yeah.
Incredible out of the tree. He just missed a rock or something when he fell.
Those
Yeah.
were elaborate. I think they had, levels and trapdoors, and I remember a lot of them they were pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
Tree
That was a
houses.
neat tree house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that
Let's
the end
see.
of what
Shall I,
we
shall I
remember?
turn it off here, Tim? And how do I just push the button again? Will that stop recording?
Stop.
There's got to be
Let's see. Oh, there's
Stop.
stop.
It's not recording now, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Red light
All
flag.
right, we're picking up here again with a few things that we think we've remembered.
Mm.
The trips up to Yellowstone were always a unique event. They
Mhm.
generally spanned 2 days, or at least a day,
Day and a half. Yep.
Of course, there was a day or two before that when the trailer got packed,
Mhm.
and it got packed to the
Oh,
rim.
twice as high as it
Right,
was.
right,
Yeah,
the canvas covering it.
And the ironing board, kind of strapped
Was
on
it
top.
Aaron
or
Board or
something.
the bassinet or
Or
the potty or something?
something, yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
always something.
And then, of course, we crammed into the car.
Uh-huh.
And to this day, if I ever get into a car that has had food, particularly fruit, left in it overnight, there's kind of this
Brings
sick
back that
smell.
memory.
I don't know, it's some kind of smell that fruit gives off as it's ripening in a closed space.
Acetylene gas.
Oh, it just almost turns my stomach. But I remember we'd stay in motels and we'd come out to the car and they would have that smell in the morning.
Yeah, because Mom would pack all our meals, or
Right,
with
right.
lunches, and
We
we'd
try to make
go,
it to
always
Rollins,
try
wasn't it?
not vapor a lot, going over Togety Pass.
Togety Pass, yeah,
Yep.
try not to vapor lock.
Yeah. And we'd stay in Rollins, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
usually?
Yeah, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
maybe the first night.
Yeah.
All day getting up to Rollins.
Yeah. And then we could each take one little box of toys. Remember, we were allowed one box to take of toys.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. I was also remembering at Canyon, we had these incredible heart tournaments. We just about killed each other, but these tournaments would go on for days.
Yeah.
Oh, they were bloody.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't know how to play vicious hearts. So they played
You
one
developed
of
that
these.
skill pretty fast.
Oh, yeah, they were ruthless.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. Turn it off here till we
Yeah,
think
I
of
think
something.
Okay,
Well,
we're
we're-
coming clean.
yeah,
We're
we're-
remembering some of the censored stuff.
Censored stuff. Yeah, this is stuff you may not want to include. But I was recalling that Jeannie Robinson, being an older girl, would read these kind of trashy novels and then tell us about all these call girls and and their men. And so we'd quite innocently go and play call girls, and the guys would be our sailors or whatever. And Mommy was pretty upset when we'd tell her what we were doing. To us, it was pretty harmless. We didn't quite get the full impact, I think, of what was happening.
The one I had to test up to was stealing the cigarettes from the canyon store and smoking them out in the big meadow, out in the rocks out in the big meadow. We'd also fly our kites out there.
Guess that's it now for censored stuff. Well, we're back with some more memories. Let's see, I remember we'd play in Deanne Flockhart's trailer, and we'd make these little mermaids out of a piece of rope, and we'd unravel part for the skirt and then another part for the hair, and we'd bleach them in Clorox to get them all white. and then we'd play with them in little bowls of water. And let's see, I remember also there was a washing machine that I think Mommy got to use, or maybe we kind of shared it, as a public washing machine, and it had an old hand crank wringer to wring the clothes out.
Yeah, and somehow Mom managed to do diapers all the time. Because remember,
Susan would.
Susan was in diapers. We were all in diapers at one point or another. Every time she went to Yellowstone, she had a baby in diapers that day. Yeah, I remember being dirty. I remember how dirty we were all the time. It was kind of neat, because we never had to take baths. And when we did, because at West Thumb it was a real big production. Dad would get this big milk can, and he'd go down to the hotel and get
from Wally and Clara. Remember them at the cafeteria?
And he'd get real hot water and bring it back, and he'd fill this big galvanized steel stuff.
Leaking all the way. And
Oh my God, it was leaking. And then we'd take baths in seriatim, and the last person got a pretty cold, dirty bath. And we always used to hate to have our hair washed, and so Mom or Dad would soap it up with shampoo and make these pointy spikes.
Yep.
We'd kind of run around like punk rockers or whatever.
And we never, poor Dennis, we never wanted to get in the water after him.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we picked on you a lot, Dennis. It's good maybe you've forgotten that. Yeah. Shut it off here. Okay, we remembered a few songs here, and Ellen Gully Rider, Ellen Gully. And then Clinton Davy had one. I woke up one morning, this has been the Denver County Jail. Remember the bed bugs brought me in my breakfast. The toast was dry and stale. I guess I can't remember enough of it. Oh, and then the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, and gobs of green greasy gopher guts, and mutilated monkey's feet and bloody little birdie's feet. Forgot my spoon.